Hey, folks, we want to let you know that we're going to start reading emails from you, our listeners. And so if you want to email us and you want to tell us about what is exciting you about this podcast, things you're learning, stories of your own life that you're having conversations with people about masks, you can email us at TOTMPOD100. That's TOTMPod100 at gmail.com. We look forward to seeing your emails and we look forward to reading them here on the show. Thank you so much, folks.
You know, you said something where I caught myself when I was talking to my son, because I was that parent who said what you were saying. Like, man, you don't need no friends. Forget them. Bump them, man. You know what? Forget about them. And then I was like, wait, what am I doing? What am I doing? Like, I'm adding onto my dude's pressures, because that may be he has yet to know the nuances of what that even means, because he's in his fundamental stages where that community is going to help him to figure out how he defines himself.
That's right.
You know, so I was like, whoa, I was like, oh my God. I'm like,
but
oh
no,
man.
but out of a beautiful place, out of a place of trying to help him not feel those feelings. I don't, and I thank you for saying it. Thank you for owning that part. I ultimately know that it comes out of a place of trying to get them to like get the pain over with as fast as possible.
Yes, man. Yes, man. Yes.
And that,
yep.
It's out of love.
Yeah, man.
It's out of love and protection, and then to help know that, okay, his world is just that big.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Taking Off the Mask podcast. My name is Ashanti Branch, and I'm really glad you've joined us. Today's guest is Paul Newell. I am excited about this episode for a lot of reasons, and I just want to prepare you about some topics that we do talk about in this episode. In this episode, we talk about bullying, and there is some mention of suicide. More of people in the past who have committed suicide, but not necessarily from the ideations of either of us in the conversation, but just so you're prepared for that. But we do have a longer talk about bullying and how in schools and educators and teachers and providing support and parenting and all the difficulties that come out of living a life. If you have ever been bullied, you know those feelings. And so that is a topic in this conversation. But even deeper, it is us coming together to talk about masks. And we don't do the masks to the end. So if you're looking just to see what masks we made, you can go actually toward the end. But I encourage you to listen to this conversation if you are raising a child, if you're an educator, if you are a parent. I think there's a lot to be gained here. And if you're a man who is trying to decide whether you want to find a circle this year, I highly encourage you to begin the process of searching one of these organizations that are supporting men around their development and growth. And there's lots of them out there. I think maybe next week I'll make a list of some of the organizations that are out there doing some of this work, some that I would personally recommend. I can only speak to ones that I have been a part of. And I've been a part of a men's team since 2010. So I'm a believer in the power of a circle of men that you can trust. And I know that everybody doesn't have that, or maybe feel they need it. But it's been life-changing for me. So listen, enjoy today's episode. I was trying to think if I was going to tell you a story, but there's a lot we talk about in this episode. So I really want to get you into the episode to hear what's going on. But I will tell you, if you are thinking about what do you want to do to get involved with this Million Mask movement this year, I'm going to invite you to be a part of the growth of this movement. And it's pretty easy, actually. I try not to tell people things are easy, but this is really easy. Share the link with somebody you care about. Invite them to make a mask. millionmask.org. Share the link. Invite them to make a mask. You make a mask. And maybe you don't talk about it. Maybe you wait 2 weeks and then you call them and say, "Hey, did you make that mask?" And they're gonna be like, "No, I didn't do it yet." You're like, "Come on, you do it." Maybe give them a little bit of peer pressure to make it. And then when they make it, maybe you say, "You want to talk about that mask?" And maybe they say no, and you give them some more time. Maybe you just take an opportunity to engage someone in the process. But if you be the one to go first, it's going to make it a lot easier. Take a thought about that for this 2023 school year, 2023 year, and we invite you to continue the conversations around the emotional mask we wear. And this year, stay tuned for what's coming up in Ever Forward. There's More to You campaign has already kind of been launched and put out there on social media. If you haven't seen it, go look for it. There's More to You. Hashtag There is More to You. And you will recognize it. And you may even recognize right now in yourself that there is more to you than anybody could tell by looking at you. Thank you so much, folks, for being a part of this movement with us. And we'll see you real soon. Paul Newell, brother, it is good to have you on Taking Off the Mask podcast. Welcome to the show.
What's up? Good to be here, man.
Oh, man. We have known each other a while and for lots of different spaces, but let's do this. Let's have you introduce yourself to the audience, tell them what you want them to know about you, and then we'll jump in. We already actually started the show before the show, so we're gonna catch up a little bit on what we were talking about. I think
Word.
there was some richness in that part of the conversation, and so please introduce yourself, and then let's talk about these masks.
Let's go. Let's go. So, Ashanti, thank you for having me, man. My name is Paul Newell. I'm a teacher. I'm a men's health and well-being teacher, men's health and well-being guide. I'm a yoga instructor. For my full-time work, I'm in the service industry. I work specifically for the sports and events management company. My main thing, Ashanti, is like what I want people to know about me is I've been through a lot of rocky roads as a man of color, as a one-time married man, as a divorced man, alienated father, a lot of these things. And my main thing is supporting other men and supporting our healing. And for me, the healing is a well-being. The healing is a realignment, and I do that through different men's circles, especially for men of color. I have a circle called the Brotherhood of Kings Collective. We meet on Saturdays, and also I'm right now. I just my book just came out in November. Heal.Thy.Man Method. Yeah, buddy.
Hey,
Uh,
congratulations.
Thank you, King. I appreciate it. And my main thing is I want to help men to find out what their version of masculinity and being a man is, because I think it's something different for every single man that's in existence, and it's an opportunity for us to really bring forth that unique version of ourselves as a man, and figure out what that means as far as how it's expressed out in the world, and then how we live that through our purpose. So that's my biggest mission going forward. I was in corporate for a while, but like that's been my thing right now is really support men. I got two boys. One's 8, another one's 11. So my thing is, listen, if no one gets out alive. So by any unfortunate circumstance, I leave before my boys really become men. I want to make sure that I leave other men in the book and different things so that men can guide them. And guide their sons and their community and things like that, man. So that's who I am.
Ooh, beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing the boys and bringing them into the space. I think that that was one of the things we were it kind of came up in before the conversation, about you and I, our early experience of life, dealing with bullying and that kind of behavior that happened growing up. And I think, one of the things I was saying was that for me, when it was happening, when I experienced it myself, like I was good at masking. I had plenty of good masks, like I was, you know, I, I was not a horrible student, so I could hide some things there, but I was not such a great student that it got me too much attention there from the negative, friends who didn't like nerds, and then and not
Mhm.
too much of the other stuff. And it's like always this dance in between, right? And
Right.
and I think the the feeling of like lonely aloneness, like can't tell anybody about this, like not worried about what people were gonna say about me. I mean, it was miserable dealing with it,
Yeah.
But it was almost felt like it was going to be worse to have people find out that I was letting this guy take my lunch money and that he was threatening me, right? That I was afraid. Like I
Right.
didn't know how to fight. I didn't know, I mean, my father, I didn't grow up with a father in my house. So I know how to fight. I mean, I could take care of a house.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I could make you a
Yeah.
5 course meal in a minute.
Right.
But fighting? What? Why would I want somebody to hit me? Why would I want to hit
Right.
somebody? You know, it
Right.
wasn't even a
Right.
thing, right? And it was not until I really began to like. So it was like that moment of like, okay, this is terrifying. Like I don't want to be hit. I don't want to be in pain. I don't want to be all the things and just stuffing it. You know.
Man, oh, I do know so well. And it's wild because like I've been teased for the majority of my life, like in school, right? Like I was teased in elementary school because I was chubby. They called
Mm,
me all sorts of things. They used to make me race the slow kids so I could win. They used to crackle my shorts would catch up in between my crotch. And then when I got to middle school, it was just even worse because I'm quirky, and it's like I grew up in a Jamaican household, so we didn't really talk a lot of slang. So I got teased from the white kids, I got teased from the black kids, and it's like I always remember this time in eighth grade because I had really nappy hair. So in eighth
mm.
grade, my mom put a relaxer in my hair, bro, and I look like Count Blackula, bro. So I remember the kids let me have it. And my mom wanted me to put some waves in, so she put this Vaseline, bro. It was horrible, bro. It was horrible. And then when I got to high school, it's like some kids that I grew up with that were older. Them and their friends used to beat the crap out of me, bro. So it was like,
Oh
I was like,
man.
man, and it got to a point, Ashanti, where I was just like, I guess I deserve this because,
Mm, mm,
like, I had older brothers that were significantly older. So anytime when I was in middle school and I was like, hey, listen, man, like these kids are picking on me, we'll beat them up, like handle it,
mm.
And I was just like, but I don't want to hit anybody. Like, yo, and I
Yeah.
would just come draw, play the saxophone or cry. And then like, it got to a point like, I was like part of the conversation before we started, I was talking about my son right now that's 11 has been
Mm,
getting bullied.
yeah.
And the bullying for him isn't necessarily physical, it's more the emotional and mental. Like the kid is pointing at him, like having his friends laugh at him. It's like a version of gaslighting. And the
Yeah.
thing is like it's tough for him because when he goes to the officials about it, they're like, I could tell meeting with the officials that they're really not believing him.
Yeah.
It's like, and the kid is popular. The parents are in the PTO and all that stuff. And my lesson, Ashanti, is really like,
Ooh.
hey, Elijah, man, like you get to find out what this means for you, like how you get to manage it. And you may have to do some things that are out of
Mm,
character, but it's going to help you
mm,
manage it. Cause like Ashanti, this is the thing that's so interesting about bullying. And one of the many reasons I appreciate your work is that
mm.
the bullying had me wearing a lot of masks
Yeah.
because I wanted to cover and I wanted to be like, well, what do I have to do so I can avoid the bullying? Who do I
Mm,
have to be today? Like, hey, oh, you want to
mm.
you want to borrow my Public Enemy tape so you don't beat the crap out of me? You want to like, it's like, so it's serious, man. And like, the thing that
Mm.
you feel what I'm saying, man? It's like,
Oh man.
um, and I'm feeling that for my kid now,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's really interesting because as I'm navigating this space for him, there's this piece of how men get bullied. Men can get bullied, and men and over time, like everyone gets bullied, in my
Yeah.
judgment, right? There's some sort of imposing figure that's gonna put like do their best or what I perceive may want to impose their will on me or have me feel a certain way, and
Yeah.
it's up to me to really know myself to be able to navigate that. You know what I mean? So
That's
it's
right.
like because listen, even going through divorce, like having mothers of kids, like I get bullied by them.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so it's real, man. It's something that I think a lot of people fail to really recognize, man.
I think you talked about. I mean, and thank you for saying that. As I was hearing the words you're saying, and as I was thinking about like all the different scenarios you talked about, like how do I think there's this image I just recently saw where it says fight when our stress responses, right?
Yep,
Flight,
yep,
freeze, or fawn,
yep.
right? And how do I, in the fawning, try and make it light and make it no big deal? But I'm stressed and I'm like trying to just make it go away. And I'm trying to like all those ways. And I had never seen the fawn part, I had never
Yeah.
seen that before. And I'm like,
Yep.
oh, I know that one well. Now I wasn't that funny. I mean, I think people would have called me funny looking, but I was not funny. So trying to do it, and I was chubby. I've been probably this size since I was 10, right? So
Gotcha.
I've been a big kid all my life, and I think those moments of like, what is happening here? And I think, and I don't know when. I don't know. I remember when my mom found out because I had been lying and I had been like trying to like pretend like nothing was happening, and
Mm.
it was just one day, I came home from school. I was hungry. I had no lunch that day. Lunch lady was tired of giving me free lunch because she was like, you need to be paying your whatever 35 cents, whatever lunch was. But my money was taken every day. So had no
Yeah.
money. And I came home and I was making like 3 sandwiches. I was starving. I was like, I had the bread all lined up. And my mom came home early that day.
Yeah.
And I'm like she's like somehow she came in stealth. Usually I hear her car because we had a jacked up car. I usually hear her car. I think I was so hungry I didn't even hear the car
You were
coming.
focused, man.
I was focused. I was strategically layering these sandwiches up. They were peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And all of a sudden I
Right.
remember hearing the door open. I'm like, what the heck? And I peek around the corner and she came in and I'm like, I was
Oh.
like, I ran back in the kitchen. It was too late. She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Just making a sandwich." I was making 3 sandwiches. I was
Oh
stuck.
man.
She's like, "No wonder there's no bread." I asked you what happened to all the bread. You said you didn't know. I knew
Right.
because I was having lunch and breakfast, dinner at the same time.
Mm.
But that moment of like, what's going on? And I'm like, nothing, nothing, nothing. Why you didn't eat lunch? I'm like, it was just like a moment of like I had already been lying a few days before because
Yeah.
I was coming home eating to make up for what I hadn't had at lunch.
Mm.
And at that moment of like when you talked about your son and like the school not believing him, because I didn't tell anyone. My mom said, "What's going? Why are you not having lunch? I gave you lunch money for whatever."
Right.
And and it was just like, and I was trying to think of, I hadn't prepared the lie yet. I had been lying like, well, I didn't eat all that bread. I don't know what happened to all that bread. I don't know what happened to all that food, right? But it was
Right.
me. And then now
Mm.
trying to like deepen the lie. It's you. So why are you not having lunch? Now I'm trying to make another lie to cover the other lie.
Yeah,
It
you
just
were prepared for that other lie. You're
yeah.
like,
It,
right.
wa- it fell apart. It
Yes.
fell apart because I had siblings. I'm the oldest. I had to make their lunch and make them snacks, so I could easily just. I made. We had snacks after work, after school. I made them
Yeah.
snacks. I could always like that's where the food went. But now the
Mm.
story is falling apart because it's me, oh me, and
Yeah.
I think that when I was an administrator and I think about we're talking about this topic of bullying. I think there's so many kids who deal with it in silence.
I
And so
know.
many kids deal with it and they don't talk to anybody about it. And because when you said the school didn't believe, the school is like, well, no one touched him.
Right.
No one did
Right.
anything to him. And there's a dance because as an administrator, I remember having parents say, my kid's being bullied. I'm like, and I jump into action. As an
Yeah.
administrator, I take that really serious. I don't take it lightly. And then when you find out when you have a conversation, well, they're the kid's being left out or the kid's not they didn't get invited to that birthday party and so there's these other things that are happening that are socially this pressurizing. And I'm like,
Right.
well, ma'am, let's help. What I want to help you and your son understand in this context is it's not going to feel good right now,
Right.
but those are things that I only have so much control over as an administrator, right?
Right.
But when those ones where you see it happening and you can hear the ridicule and the making fun and the constantly doing the picking at and that kind of stuff, and
Right.
people say, "Oh," and you tell parent of the kid doing it is like, "Oh, my kid said he's just playing around." I said, "Well,
Right.
look, that kind of playing around is not okay here. Like he should play around with his own friends and play around with the people who like to be played around with that way, and then
Right.
that'll be fine. But he's playing around with somebody who doesn't. They're not friends. They don't communicate, and so therefore he should be focused on his friends and And I think how do you help? How do you be a person who's a mediator? Who in my soul I feel for the kid who's getting picked on. I feel it
Right.
and I
Right.
have to be careful not to be so to the other side of the tyrant who's trying to like avenge my own childhood, you know, moments, right? Because deep
Man.
down, I just want to protect that kid from not having to go through what I went through.
Oh man, Ashanti,
Yeah,
thank you for bringing that up, man, because that's the space I'm in right now.
Yeah.
right? It's like holding this balance of like that part of me that's like the elementary school, the middle school, and the high school part of me that got bullied, and I
Yeah.
want to take the swords out to protect my kid, right? And at the same time, it's like looking at, okay, like there was a part of that, those experiences that made me me. So like,
Mm,
what is it that I'm like supporting my kid in, like in doing my best to make sure that his environment is sound,
that's
right?
right. That's right.
Safety is a perception. Make sure that it's sound so that he has a foundation to be like, okay, hey, I'm going to go to the administrator now and still be able to hold that frame where it's like, okay, look, this is what's got to happen, and put
Yeah.
myself to the side, right? And
That's right.
because
That's right.
there's a piece of it, I was speaking about this, his mom and I are divorced, so speaking with her and like really making sure that we're on the same page, it's also managing those emotions in her, which is just
Yeah.
like, I never got bullied when I was a kid, so I don't know what this is like, but I'm a mother, I want to
Yeah.
hold and protect my kid.
That's
So
right.
there's this piece where it's like managing all that, and at the same time, Ashanti, supporting my son and being like, hey, look, man, this is part of the game, like this is part of you learning how are you going to manage yourself,
Yeah.
right? Like how are you going to help yourself in this, because hey, listen, there may be people that never support you,
Yeah.
right? Because Ashanti, this is another piece where it's I'm experiencing concern a lot from men. Like this is one of
Yeah.
the reasons like I focus my coaching and like more of my teaching to
Yeah.
men,
Yeah.
because I think that what you said before, a lot of men
Yeah.
will hold this, right? And then even though they can act like, hey, I'm like the dude, there's still a piece of, and this is, I'm speaking of my experience only
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
working with men, that there's still this piece that they felt that they were not enough,
Yeah.
right? That someone in their life, in their
Mhm.
fundamental structure, had
Yeah.
them believing you're a piece of doo doo, you're a piece of crap, like
Hmm.
I'm why are you even here? And that as
Yeah.
much as
Yeah.
someone could overcome that, there's still a piece of that that has an impact,
Oh
right?
boy. That's right.
So it's
That's right.
this, and again, I think that's where it comes into wearing the mask, because like I gotta tell you, there's like with the amount of suicides that are coming out, and there's still some suicides that are out there that
Mm.
just recently happened, like a TikTok influencer, I think it was like Noah Travis or something like that.
Oh
The dude's
really?
20, yeah, there's a dude who's 21. He had the same situation like Twitch. The dude went to a hotel room, and they interviewed the woman that checked him in. She was like, "Oh, he was a happy guy." Then all of a sudden, like the dude killed himself.
Oh my gosh.
So
Oh
this is
my
what I'm
gosh.
talking about. Like, what is
Mm.
really going on in the hearts and minds and spirits of men, boys, even girls, women,
Mm.
that
Yeah.
had there's a piece of us that has us, that other people had us thinking that we're unworthy, we're far from
Yeah.
being enough, like all these
Yeah.
things, and they manifest in different ways.
That's right.
So
That's right.
it's very interesting, man. I'm in like a very like reflective and also just an introspective place to be able to make sure I manage myself so I can help
Yeah.
to support my kid, man, my child.
Yeah. Well,
It's
thank
wild.
you for being there for him. And I'm glad he has you. And I think it's one thing to have somebody who cares about you. And it's another thing
Yeah.
to have somebody who cares about you and who gets it. Because it's one
Good
thing
point.
to have a father who's like who goes to the hyper masculine side and is like, don't be no XYZ. Don't let somebody, and then you don't even let the boy feel the feelings of isolation and desperation,
Right.
like because you're trying to make him overcome those with the idea that he's supposed to be tough and he's supposed to never feel that. And I think there's a balance so much of how we help them learn those things, right? What are the way, how's he going to learn it? Well, right, well, we're going to make him learn it, he's going to get over it, like. And I think
Right.
we hear those behaviors so often, and I think, and it's a way of protecting, right? It's like, I will do whatever it takes to protect and to know that, okay, so how can I help you learn through it? Because I can't be there all the time.
Right.
I'm not going to
Right.
be there in every chapter of the life. And if I've always gone in to just do the work of cleaning it up for you, then when you actually are down and you're like, whoa, okay, what do I do here? I've never seen this done before. It's always been done for me. It's always been, and I need to begin to learn. This. I don't like this feeling, and I'm being able to name it and having a vocabulary around it.
Right.
And then, because I've heard, parents is like, You don't need no friends. So what? When young people, when middle schoolers will lose their friends and they would be sad about it, and their parents are like, "You don't need no friends."
Yeah.
And you're like, well, you're speaking from a adult 30-year-old perspective of knowing how to wipe people away from your memory bank quickly, but a 12-year-old has not yet gotten there. And so
Yep.
you're telling this child, don't forget about their friends. When well, who did you have at 12?
Right.
I mean,
Oh
who did you
man.
have? Who did
Oh,
you have? But
dude.
your little network right there. And this is a
Right.
different kind of network than they have than we had. We had a network that existed. If we could have if we could talk to them on the phone at the weekends and evenings, great. Most times it's at school only. Now their network is right here, and every time and when that gets shattered, it's like that connection almost feels like the battery is dying, right?
Yep.
Well, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I gonna do? And then you end up with that overwhelming pressure. And so I think that from me to of another young man who experienced it, tell your son that I got his back, that I
That's
got his back,
thank you, bro.
proverbially, and if it needs to be, then we'll show up on the East Coast and we'll help
Yo,
out.
let's
You know what
go.
I'm saying?
Let's
But I
go,
think,
bro.
let him know that he's going to get through it, and
Yeah, man.
that keep talking about it. Don't
Thank
get
you.
silent about it. Don't
Yeah.
get silent about it, because when that's what we see, and you mentioned Twitch, and I haven't heard about the other man Noah Travis, but the stuff that we are repressing, that we
Hmm.
deny, that we ignore, is the
Yeah.
stuff that will come back at some point. It actually has no choice but to come back. It
Right.
is waiting. It's waiting. It's in there, and maybe it's going to wait 30 years. Maybe it's going to wait 20 years. Maybe it's going to wait 1 year, but it's in there waiting to get dealt with, and it will get dealt with
It will get dealt with. One way or another,
one way or
it's
the
going to
other.
get dealt with. You
That's
know what I
right.
mean?
That's right.
It's so true, man. So true. And this is, you said something where I caught myself when I was talking to my son, because I was that parent who said what you were saying. Like, man, you don't need no friends. Forget them. Bump them, man. You know what? Forget about them. And then I was like, wait, what am I doing?
Mm,
What am I doing? Like, I'm adding onto my dude's pressures, because that may be that's he has yet to know the nuances of what that even means,
mm,
because he's in his fundamental stages where
yeah,
that community is going to help him to
yeah.
figure out how he defines himself.
That's right. That's right.
So it's
Yeah,
like, whoa, I was like, oh my God. I'm
yeah.
like,
But
oh man,
no, but out of a beautiful place, out of a
yeah,
place of trying to help him not feel those feelings. I don't, and I thank you for saying it. Thank you for owning that part. I ultimately know that it comes out of a place of trying to get them to get the pain over with as fast as possible,
yes, man, yes, man, yes,
and that
yep,
it's out of love.
yeah, man.
It's out of love and protection, and
Hmm.
then to help know that, okay, his world is just that big.
Yeah.
Like, I think if we forgot what it was like to be 12, 13, because in that moment when you catch yourself, you're like, oh,
Yeah, right,
I'm
yo,
talking to him like he's an adult, and he's not an
right.
adult.
He's not an adult.
He may be tall, he may be stucky, he may be growing up, but he's still a kid
It's
who's
a kid.
trying to just navigate his world in the best way he can, right? And I think that's what we often so need, is when people hear us and they see us, and like as an adult, to be told you shouldn't be feeling that. You're a grown man. Why are you feeling that? Same
Right.
stuff.
It's the
The
same
same
thing.
stuff. Same thing.
It's the same thing. I think that's what a lot of people, especially men, fail to recognize, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm so excited about, the work that I'm doing, the work some of my other friends are doing, the work you're doing, because it's an opportunity, especially the work that you're doing with the younger men, right? Like the school kids, because if when there's an opportunity to educate the young ones on, hey, this is how you can communicate,
Yeah.
this is how you can express, this is what tough can be, rather than what this is what tough is. Like you're
Yeah.
gonna have to blah 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 blah. No, no, no. Well, hold up. You being able to speak your truth
Yeah.
about what's happening is tough and courageous.
Yeah.
Like my former wife and I, we're telling Elijah that, like, man, you're courageous, bro. Like,
Yeah.
you're speaking
Mm.
this. Most people would hold this to
Yeah.
yourself. And even I was
Yeah.
talking to his mom today, and she was like, I was so proud of him. He was in the principal's office. He was speaking his truth. And I was like, I was getting all teary eyed. I was
Yeah.
like,
Oh
that's
man.
our boy. That's
That's
our
right.
boy right
That's
there.
right.
You know what I mean? And
That's right.
that's the
That's right.
key piece because, as much as what I see is the hypocrisy and a lot of what I'm seeing on like social media and things is that there's this call for men to be more emotional, men to be more sensitive. Then at the same moment, when a man does that, stop being a bitch.
Yeah.
You need to take care of your business, man.
Yeah.
You need to step up.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
whoa, I don't even know what that means right now, man. And that's the last time I tell you anything. And then
That's
they
right.
see, this dude ate a gun.
That's
And
right.
it's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
what happened, man?
Yeah. That is exactly, and imagine that. Imagine that when they're young, when we are open to meeting all new people and knowing everybody and connecting and realizing, why would somebody not like me?
Right,
Why would somebody be like, I'm not mean to people, why are they mean to me? Like, to be in that total innocence of like, why would people in this world treat me badly? And I really just get clear that it's not just you.
right.
It is a society that has existed, sadly, for a long time, and we will get through this too. This too will pass, and it's going to be a moment of discomfort. It's
Yes,
going to be some moments of disconnection, and I think when we can do that, because when our young men and when our boys and when communities are not giving people permission to feel what we feel, we are basically saying, be somebody else. Can you be somebody else right now? Can you stop being you and be somebody else? And then we're confused when they turn into monsters or
right,
who have no emotional connection at all because it was trained out of them. They were like, I got, and I was just reading an article today around why boys, for all the followers that this person Andrew Tate had, all these followers and people watching his videos, like why they flock to him? Because he
right,
talked about being tough and about strong and about being muscles and having girls do what you say and not have anybody talk back to you and have this idea that this is what it's supposed to be. This is
right,
what it's supposed, like the draw to that energy is so dangerous, and we see that it's like his bravado in so many ways only lasted so long between the time when he realized, but ultimately, what
right,
what boys who have fantasized about being him,
right,
who have tried
right,
to do what he did, who are trying to do what he does right now. They're just not
right.
caught yet, and they're not putting their stuff on social media like that, but they're doing it out here in these here streets.
Yep,
They
yep,
out here doing stuff like that, and if we're not careful, we become what we are not. What we if they're not talking about it to us,
right,
if our kids are afraid to tell us that they're feeling these things, they're worrying about these, they're thinking about these things, then they begin to just listen to the voices of people out there who will tell them what they want to hear,
right,
and then
right.
we have that to worry about as young men, as men. So,
So I
man,
gotta ask a question for you, right? Because like
yeah,
you brought up a name that's like out there right now, right?
oh
Andrew
man,
Tate, right? Like
yeah,
this
man,
cat, and like I've always been a person that if I'm hearing the news saying something, like I wanna listen to a couple of interviews with him full, right? Because like I
hmm
did PR for a little bit, so I know. Listen, the media can cut and chop some stuff for a purpose, right?
yeah, yeah,
And so like I've listened to a couple of his podcasts, like the whole not podcast, but like some of the interviews he's done, and to really like because I had this thing about like, yo, I wish this dude would just be more intentional with his words. And it's like
hmm
as a person that like, can go on rants on social media and like can say some stuff, I'm like, okay, I get it. And what I recognize is that a lot of the stuff that gets put out there about him are those things that can be conveyed as toxic masculinity, right? Because it's just like treat your women like this, you got to be the top G, you got to do this, blah blah blah. And really what in a lot of other interview in a lot of other parts of the interviews I've heard is he's talking about like, men, take care of yourself, build yourself up. The thing is that I rarely see those clips, right? And I wish that more of the boys that are watching this heard that part of it where he's talking about what's your hobbies? What do you do? How do you do this? You gotta find yourself before you can find a woman and do all these other things that the media is saying. And then, like, while I fail to agree with all of his messaging,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
do agree with the part that he talks about men building themselves and knowing themselves. Because
Mm.
when I get into a relationship, I'm speaking for myself. When
Yeah.
I've been
Yeah.
in relationships before, without failing to know myself, I'm easily led astray.
Mm.
Like I'm easily like,
Mm.
oh well, you know what? The sex was great, or like, oh man, she really loves me, but I failed to know what
Mm.
love really is. I failed to love myself. So anybody give me love, I'm gonna accept
Mm.
that piece. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying,
Yeah.
Ashanti?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's very interesting, especially like I had an interview on my podcast with a guy that introduced me to this red pill culture, which is like
Okay.
there's like different phases, but it's just like men that have been hurt by women, and then there's like different what have you. And like some of the content creators, like I watch them and I'm fascinated because a lot of them spew like some stupid stuff, but a couple of them really talk about men getting to know themselves. And I
Mm.
think that this is this piece, and this is another reason why I love what you do from the administrative and the education side, is it's about education on self, a knowledge of self, man. Like,
Okay.
and I appreciate what, especially I know we're going to do the mask, but like, the first time I saw that your documentary of the mask that we live in, I thought it was so powerful because watching these young men watch these anonymous pieces of paper and read and watch these men be like, yo, I get that too. And watch men crying and
Yeah.
doing this. I'm like, this is what I'm talking about again, about getting to know yourself.
That's right. That's right.
You know what I mean,
That's
Ashanti?
right. That's
And
right.
this is what I love about the circles because it's an opportunity, man. There's no judgment here. Who you are is welcome. I don't, regardless of how you show up,
Yeah.
because how
Yeah.
you show up, Bob, and I'm speaking for myself, I'm
Yeah.
learning to soften and understand that no matter how I show up, there's a part of me that gets to give that grace. Even if it's a part that's like, oh, I can't believe I showed up like this. And like, there's a part of this with my kid, like I'm carrying a lot of like regret. Like, would this be different if I stayed in the marriage? Would this be
Mm.
this way? And
Yeah.
it's a lot of it. Like I just really appreciate these spaces where we can educate young men and men about let's take the time so to support you in figuring out who you are.
Yeah.
Not what you do, not how many kids you have, what school subject you like. Who are you, man?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the piece that I think is so I'm
Yeah.
just really excited to be connected with men like you and other men and other people that are a part of this charge and supporting men and young
Yeah.
boys and getting figuring things out, man.
Well, I think thank you for bringing that up, and I have not heard much about the red pill culture, but I'm gonna do some homework because I want to know these things. These are important topics that I think that I'm interested in knowing. But I really appreciate you for holding that context because I think that deep down, if we if as we have these conversations, we get to a place where we're like, huh, let me think about that. I don't know much about that, or I don't know what I think about that yet. But oftentimes in our society now, we're not allowed to have these debates because everyone thinks if I don't agree with you, then I have to be your enemy. And I think that that's the why we trying to have these conversations is that why shouldn't we have a space to have dialogue and be able to talk about it? Because if I need you to be like me, then I'm what like it's almost like this idea like why don't we appreciate opinions in different ways to be able to see, tell me more about that. My first gut is saying that's baloney, that's bull, but let me hear some more.
Right,
Okay. Let me understand
right,
why you think that, and I think that we've lost that ability to do that. You know what has done that to us? I would say is the algorithms, right? The algorithms have created what we want to see and want to hear. We see more of, and the
right,
things we don't. And so when we meet a person, a human, who's saying something we don't want to hear, we're like, how do I swipe past you? I
right.
can't swipe. Let me swipe. Oh, you're not swiping away. I can't turn your volume down. You're still here. Like, and what we've gotten used to is that, oh, I don't want to hear that fool. I'm not going to listen to that, Jack. We've learned to just we think we can swipe things away that we don't want to see and hear, and it doesn't work like that in human
Ooh,
interactions.
ooh. You said so much right there. You said so much. And yes to all of it. it's a conditioning, I think, Ashanti, right? Because like what you just said is so pivotal. There's this conditioning I think I'm seeing and experiencing in our culture where swipe it away, swipe it away. And what you just said was so key before about it's going to come up. It will come up. It's a
That's right.
matter of time.
That's right.
So
That's right.
you just, oh wow, you just hit that right on the head, man. Because like
Oh
again,
man.
it's like it was like a long time ago. I was on a dating app, and it was just like ship, 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 ship. I was like, I'm off this thing, man. This is horrible. This is horrible, man. I'm like, what am I doing here? But then like I find like I'm in this like social media like weaning off where it's like, okay, I set my timer whenever I'm social media. So it's like, okay,
Nice.
I gotta get off now. But I find
Nice.
myself like, oh my God, I got 2 minutes. Like I gotta get through all this. Right. So it's like I'm learning. It's all
Oh
conditioning,
man.
man. It's so again, it's a part of awareness. It's one of the things I'm really focused on highlighting now for people and
Yeah.
men through the book, through Heal.Thy.Man
Yeah.
Method. It's like let's get awareness to the patterns, the stories, the
Mhm.
language that you use to yourself
That's
and to
right.
others, man. All this stuff means something, man. It
That's
means
right. That's
something.
right.
So yeah,
Well, I want to make sure before we leave, we're going to make sure you say that name and you're going to tell it so we can make sure we put it in the show notes.
most definitely.
Let's do this mask. Let's do this mask.
Yo,
We've already actually had the whole show and we just now made the mask. So the mask is just the icing on the cake
right.
of this journey. Imagine what would it be like? I think a lot of men who've not sitting in circles, who've never sat in a circle, may think it's strange. But what would it be like if you in your life had a place to go to talk about the things that were important and valuable and meaningful to you and knew that you wouldn't be judged,
Mm,
knew that it was safe there, it was confidential there, that I'm not doing so well today, but that people got my back there. I
word.
think I didn't find the men's. I'd already started Ever Forward before I found the men's circle, so I was actually trying to create something I had never even experienced before, but I knew there was a need for it. Like
Wow. Okay.
it was almost a shock when I went to my first meeting, and I'm like, "What the heck are they brought me up to?" Some man invited me, and I got to that circle, and I'm like, it's like 50 men standing around. I'm like, "What the heck?" People are spitting and farting and th- fire in the middle. I was like, "What the heck is going on here?"
Yeah.
And then you
Yep.
just realize when the meeting starts, it's like silence. The man talking is the man everyone's listening to. Respect. Like what?
Yeah.
Talking about feelings and emotions, and no one's laughing and snickering. Like it was like, oh my, I've
Yeah,
been
bro.
looking for this for my whole life.
Oh,
And I
feel you.
think that's when you finally find it, when you finally realize, where's this been in my whole life? Why haven't
Mm,
I known that this could happen? That you could have a space to talk about real stuff and it's normalized.
yeah, man.
That's what we need.
Yeah.
And I think that's what this work has been about, the whole time. So hey, folks, I am reaching out to you right now to let you know that we are inviting all of our listeners to become supporters of this podcast. If you find these conversations valuable and meaningful, as we march towards 1 million masks, we know that it's more than just these conversations we need to have. It's more conversations in schools and in communities. And we're going to ask you to help that mission along. We're going to ask you to be a supporter. If you go to the bottom of the show notes, there'll be a link that says support this podcast. And we invite you to be a supporter. Figure out what area makes the most sense for you to support. And we look forward to you being a part of this movement as we make masks with people all over the world. But in these conversations, as we have conversation with men about their masks, from youth all the way to our elders in our community. So thank you for being a part of the podcast, and we'll see you soon. I appreciate you, brother, and I'm thankful for you being a part of this show. And while you were talking, I was finishing up my mask, and so I got 3 words. Do you want to go first? Or you want me to go first? How
Oh,
you want
yeah.
to do this?
Oh man, I've seen some of your podcasts, and I know people go either way. I'll go first. All right, I'll go
Okay.
first.
Okay. All right.
So we'll do the front first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fancy front first, yeah, and then I'll go my
Okay.
front, yeah.
So here's my front.
Oh,
Okay. So what this is like my face, of course, right? My bald head, my bald noggin. I have like the frown and the mask or the smile, because like the majority of the time, Ashanti, man, like I'm smiling because like again, I just tell him like I think I don't know if we caught this on recording, but I'm a recovering people pleaser. So
Mm.
like my mode, especially growing up divorce household, like thinking like it was my reason why my fault why my parents got divorced. Like I've always put the smile on my face. The other piece is like the frown is like when I'm in circles and it's a sadness. It's a sadness that I experience, and also a caring, and also that frown. Like what I recognize, like when I'm really relaxed, like it looks like I'm frowning. People think
Mm.
like I may be mad, but when my face is really truly relaxed, I'm like, it looks like I got a droopy face, man. People are like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, I'm actually super relaxed right now. Thanks for asking.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying, Ashanti? Like, yo, people are like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, actually, I'm great. This third eye is when I was drawing it. I was like, after I drew it, I was like, I drew it for enlightenment, and I'm like, I still have a long way to go before I'm completely enlightened. And like, this is my
mm.
way. Like this third eye, like especially with the work I've been doing, Ashanti, it's like I
Oh
sense
yeah,
that like I'm really able to see a lot of things, right, and like be
yeah.
able to extract things. And then the tear is like, I just I'm sad right now. Like, and I show the sadness and I show the realism in things like when I post videos about like, the issues I'm having with the mothers of my kids, and then like really reflecting on like, hey, this is really my anger to myself, right? And like some that's sad and at the same time it's powerful. And being able to like and the tears also representing like I'm able to show emotion and the sensations to really be a model for
Mm.
others. The words that I had are jovial, because it's like, hey, I'm always like, bless up, man. I go into work, I'm like, yo, what's up, everybody? Hey, because
Mm.
I like to shift the environment because I know people are going through a lot of doo-doo, a lot of crap. So I like to be
Yeah.
jovial, right? And nice to
Oh
like give
man.
them like a space.
Yeah.
Grounded, because I'm always like talking about breathe, man. I'm always like, hey, can we stop and look at the trees? Like I'm like, I've been
Mm.
recently going on a lot of hikes and like just taking time to be like, yo, if a tree were talking to me right now, what the heck is it saying?
Oh my
So
God.
like, and I've been getting some powerful messages from trees recently. It's been beautiful. And then the
Oh
last
yeah.
one is
Okay.
wise. I put, I show the world like I got wisdom because like the wisdom I have is like from my experiences that I've been through. And like my main thing, I think one of the things that activates wisdom is the willingness to want to share it.
Yeah.
Because if I've gone through all these experiences and I'm keeping it all to myself, Ashanti, then like,
Yeah.
am I really wise? Like, yo, so
Mm.
like that's the front of my mask, man.
Ooh-wee. Mm. I gotta send you something about message from trees because I have something I want to share with you, and I gotta find it, but I will
Bless up.
find it today. Um,
Nice. I can't wait to see
all
it.
right, so this is powerful, and I'm gonna start with the part about the frown because I inherited my father's lips. I never met him, but when I saw the first picture of him, I'm like, why is he frowning? And my mom was like, he ain't frowning. That's just the way he looks. I'm like,
Yeah.
he's frowning, and I realized as I got older, if I'm not smiling, I'm
Yep.
I'm frowning.
Yep.
And I'm like, I mean, I know sometimes I go to these public events and my cheeks are hurting. My cheeks are hurting because I'm just I'm putting on this smile to disarm this look that comes when I'm not, and I find myself exhausted. Sometimes I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my god. So that's definitely I added that one to the list. And
Oh.
this is what I drew
Oh, I
today.
love it.
I saw this image on a wall in Mexico a couple of weeks ago, and it's been calling me. So I've been recreating it
Wow.
for myself. I'm still working on it, but that's the image, this mask with this hair and wild space. So,
I
and
love
the
it.
word I wrote resting frown face. That's mine. That's mine for sure. I own that one. And caring, serious, and loving. And
Hmm.
loving and caring I think are fairly new. Loving is actually just I put it on the card for the first on the mask for the first time maybe a couple of weeks ago, and I'm realizing I want to show that I'm a loving person. I'm a
Yeah.
very caring person, and and I'm really serious, right? I'm serious about this work. I'm serious about this movement. I'm serious about this mission. And
Yeah.
somebody was interviewing me today about this thing, and I talk about schools and how the battles with the admin people is the hardest work. Convincing them that they need to bring us to do the work
Yeah.
is the most of the hardest part of my work. But working with the young people is the favorite part because
Yeah.
they're willing to see it, they're willing to explore it, they're willing to talk about it, even sometimes when it's hard. And
Yeah.
so that is the one that is. And I remember on this interview, I was like, found myself, I was like getting fired up because I was talking about why it's such a battle, why it's such a challenge, why administrators don't listen, why they don't see, why they. And I was an administrator, so I love administrators, I
Yeah.
love teachers, and I also know that I feel like I've earned the right to be critical
Yeah.
when I see situations that don't serve our kids and our community, and so that's the front.
Mm.
That's the front.
Ooh, man, thank you for that, man.
Yeah.
It's wild because like when you talk about loving, I was listening to a couple of podcasts, and there was one you were on with the gentleman Newton Chang.
Oh yeah, Newton Chang from
Yeah,
Google. Yeah.
yeah. So it was great because like you were talking about the seriousness and then also the levity.
Yeah.
And I was like, I remember listening to it, I was like, wow, I get that piece, right? Because when there's a seriousness about what you do and like the impact that you want to have and also who you want to serve, there's a serious to it that I think um, that few will ever really recognize. Right? There's like, like, listen, man, this has got weight right here. So like, if you don't see it serious, that's okay.
Yeah.
But this is serious to me. So, brother, thank you for sharing that, man. Thank you for sharing
Yeah.
that. Yeah, it means a
Thank
lot,
you.
man. It means a lot, man.
Thank you, brother.
Wow, we doing the back
Oh.
now? Oh shit! Oh, Raceway Park. Okay, here we go.
Oh.
Okay,
Oh man.
okay. So, you know how I was like writing this. I was like, do I really want to say this?
I,
Yes, yes, I do. Yes, I do. So like here are my three. Can you see?
I
All right,
can't.
so I got regretful, combustible, and powerless.
Ooh. Yeah.
I talked about the regretful because like, I got separated from my former wife. Yeah, it's almost like I'd say it's about like 9 years now, and then the
Mhm.
divorce was finalized. It's like about 5 years ago,
Okay.
and like with everything that's going on with my son, and I have two other children that like I very rarely see, right? And I've been experiencing a lot of regret because I'm like, damn man, if I had done this, like, would I be able to see my kids? Would I even have these other kids? Like,
Mm.
where would I be? Would Elijah be in this situation? So I'm experiencing a lot of regret in myself right now. And I cover it up and act like the jovial, like, hey, everything is great. But inside, I'm just like, damn, man, I messed up. I messed up. I messed
Mm.
up. And then that brings me to the combustible because,
Mm.
fortunately, I have men in my life that I could share with.
Yeah.
Yet at the same time, like, I still get to manage those feelings of like, being combustible. Like if like, okay, if somebody says something to me, it's like, what do you mean by, like in my mind, I'm like, what do you mean by that? But I'm like,
Mm.
wait,
Mm. Mm.
what activated
Mm.
in me just now?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so like I've been finding like December and even now, it's like I find like I want to isolate more. Like I want to kind of be in the cut more, like being chill, like maybe watch a little Columbo and like, chill and then like, make some matcha tea and like, hey,
Mhm.
but like that piece has been a big thing for me because also like combustible energy, like I hide that, I put that behind my mask because I'm concerned, man. I'm concerned. And it lives me every day, man. And it's like I got to do my practices to manage that. And the powerless piece is really more around the powerlessness of being a father. Like because like I think like one of the things like I advocate for fathers' rights because I think there are a lot of kids out there that think that fathers don't care. And in
Yeah.
reality, like a lot of these kids, like the mothers are alienating the kids from the fathers for whatever reason. It's not
Yeah.
right or
Yeah.
wrong because from a
Mm.
mother's perspective, they may be thinking like I'm protecting my kid, Like
Yeah.
that cat does it. So like I there was a point in time where I'd be judging, like, she's blah 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 blah. Yet at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, I'm like, okay, like there's a reason she's doing this. So Paul, ease off, man. Like, yo, let's
Yeah.
get to figure that, handle my own stuff. But there's
Mm.
still a powerlessness because like I want to be connected with my kids. I want, especially
Mm.
I have a daughter out there. Like I've yet to meet her. Like yesterday was her 5th birthday, and that's the first time. Like I've yet to meet her. So there's
Okay.
this powerlessness of being like, man, I just want to hold her. I just want her to know like
Yeah.
she's got somebody that cares about her. That's a
Yeah.
that's a masculine friend. That's a masculine person. That's her father. That's her blood, man.
That's right.
So
That's right.
there's that powerlessness that I feel, and I mask that. I cover that up and act like I got everything together. In reality, like a lot of times, like even today, I feel powerless, man.
Mm. Thank you. Thank you for sharing
You're
that
welcome.
word. That's a powerful word. I'm missing a word, and I think that's a word that I'm gonna add. Yeah. Uh, I'm gonna write it as a question.
Mm,
Okay. I'm gonna
mm,
put. So this is 3: fear of failure, and the second question, the last one I wrote was family drama. I'll come back to that
yeah.
one. And then this one I just wrote right here after your inspiration. Where is my power?
Mm.
And I think I'll start there because I think when I think about feeling powerless, which I have in many times in my life, I was recently reminded, and I don't know, I'm trying to think what was I reading that reminded me of it. It was like I was hearing this man talk about this idea. He says it takes twice as much energy, and relative to twice whatever, to like not be who you really are,
Mm.
than to try and just be what's already calling you to be. Like if you could be the fullness of you, Ashanti, if you could be the fullness of you, you have a lot less internal battles because what you're trying to do on most days is trying to be like, I'm being too much. I'm I'm sharing too much. I posted already yesterday. I don't need to say I made that video, but maybe it's not really that good. Who am I to be telling people about how to support the education of their kids? Who am I? Like I go into a holdback
Mm.
because I'm protecting myself from being talked about or being something negative said about what I have
Yeah.
to say.
Mm.
And
Mm.
that is where I think I hold back. And I was listening to something just the other, I think it was Wayne Dyer, and he was like, I forget, I don't know if it was him or somebody else, but I remember him saying something like this. It said, God is going to give you what you need, and you either going to use it or it's probably going to give it to someone else. Like
Mm.
he's
Yeah.
giving you something. He's giving you a word. He's giving you something, and everyone has their own belief. So my belief is in God, but this idea that He's giving you ideas. I talk about this often. Sometimes I have like 100 videos here that I've never shared. Right? Why did I
Mm.
know? Why haven't I shared them? Because I'm like, oh, they're not that good. They're not blah blah blah. But the
Oh,
idea came to me. The thought came to me, and I held it back. And it's like what I ultimately know is that at some point somebody's going to put out the messages that I'm thinking I'm holding back because I'm telling myself they're not good because I'm judging myself before anybody else can. And I think
right.
my power is me starting to learn that I'm not committing that I know everything. I don't commit maybe that I even know a lot, but I'll commit that I'll be willing to speak about the things I think I know to help others have a better go at this time in their own earth. And if I'm holding back that, then I'm not even using the gifts he's already given me. So I keep asking him, why are these other people getting all these things? Why are the things happening for other people in so many ways? What's happening? And he's
Mm.
like, I they're in your phone. The videos are in your phone. You have
Yeah.
not shared them. How can I make something happen with what you're not willing to put out into the world? Like you
Yep.
can't ask for more because you haven't even used what I already gave you. I gave you thoughts and ideas and wisdom and consciousness and the ability to hear and see people more than what you can see on the outside. Why are you not using it? And when I get that part, that's when I'm like, oh, Shanti, only if I wasn't so afraid. And that's the fear of failure.
Mm.
Or only if I
Oh,
wasn't so afraid. And so I've been in this last week. I've been really. I made a commitment to the engineer on our show. I said I'm going to put out 10 videos this month that I never previously shared, and I'm gonna write why I haven't shared them. And it's going to be my
mm.
own baloney and
Wow.
nonsense, but I'm going to share them. I made a commitment to doing that, and it's like they do nobody any good if I leave this earth with all of these thoughts in the phone that no one ever saw, right? It serves no
Right.
one.
Mm.
And so my
Oh
opportunity
man,
right
brother.
now is to make it. So anyway, that's what we get to do. So anyway, that's the back. That's the back. And the family drama is ongoing, but I'm learning the reality of when you think of someone, call them.
Yeah.
When you think of someone, call them. I just lost a cousin, uh, and my other
Mm.
cousin, my younger cousin, his brother called me and said, "Hey, you talked to your cousin?" Because we had a little battle during my grandmother's passing and stuff, and we didn't, it was not good terms, and we just stopped talking. And he's like, are you still holding a grudge? Are you still mad at your cousin? I was like, well, no, I'm not really mad. I was never mad. I was concerned and I was upset how he was communicating. And he
Yeah.
said, and he was asking me some questions, and he said, what would you say if your cousin was here? What would you say if you could talk to him? If you tell him, and he said, you can't tell him anyway. He said he passed, and I
Oh
was like,
man.
and so like holding the grudge and holding it served nobody. Didn't serve the relationship, and like that when you look back and you're like, maybe I should have been the one to try and clean that up. Maybe I should have been the one to
Mm.
try and mend it. So I don't call it drama. It's more just my own. It's a drama situation that is now caused one where you're like, there's no going back. You can't
Yeah,
take you
man.
can't take anything back you said. You can't make amends for it. You just have to hope that he lives, he rests in peace. So
Yeah. Damn,
anyway,
my
that's the.
condolences, Ashanti. My
Oh man,
condolences, man.
no, thank you, brother. But that's just that's the back of the mask
Yeah.
right there. Yeah.
I want to just highlight, I want to share, I want to, one of the things you said really resonated with me deeply because I'm in the same space. And it's about the fear of failure and also the sharing. Because, like, on the way to my full time and just like in life, I'm like, I get this stuff and I'm just like, so the other day, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, and then I'm just like, it just will sit there. And then I have the audacity to get pissed when someone else shares the message before I did. I'm like, because, and you said it, like, I'm in my head questioning myself when spirit's like, yo, I gave you that for a reason, son. What you holding on to for, bruv? And I'm like, I have yet to know. I'm scared. I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, and that's so important because, and I think, that's part of my commitment too, like this year, like really getting out of, because I've been creating these courses and like,
Yeah.
and just like really some of these little insights because I get to see, like when you were saying like I post too much of this, brother, it was like, I'm like, yo, is he in my head? Is he in my head right now? But it's like that's what I get to, and I think, and that's part of me being like, my friends and I, we say more is caught than taught, right? More is taught.
Mm,
So like if I'm really
yeah.
going to be an example for men to really know knowledge itself, like I think it's
Yeah.
important for me to at least put out there, the things that I'm experiencing in my journey, right? Like
Yeah.
the things
Yeah.
that are downloaded to me from spirit. Like I'm like, and I get some random stuff. Like I'm
Mm.
driving, I'm like, I may be listening to some Al Green, and then I'm like, let me pull over for a second, record that. You know what I'm saying, bro? It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I appreciate you for saying that and being vulnerable and like and let me know like I'm far from being alone, man. So thank you
Man,
for
you're
that,
not
brother.
alone, brother.
Thank you, brother.
There's more. As I tell people in the work, there's more to you. There's more to me.
Yeah.
There's more to us than anybody can see by looking at us, and that's the work of this movement, this mass
True
movement.
words, bro.
There's so much more than you can see on the outside. So, man,
Yeah.
look, I think this is just part one of a many time opportunity to
Yeah.
connect.
True.
Again, I want you to tell people about where they can find the book, where they can follow you, where they can learn about your things you're doing, and we'll
Yeah,
we'll
man.
put it all in the show notes. But let folks know. I want to make sure that we do that.
Bless up, man. Thank you. So the book is Heal.Thy.Man Method. Yes, it's a pocketbook guide for self-awareness and self-fulfillment for men. There's three parts in there. A part about self-awareness, which is called Step Into Your Arena. A part about tapping into men's creativity, which is called Master Your Mojo. And then a part about how do we maintain this level of heightened awareness that we have called Rising to Your King. You can get this on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. You can also go to my website, www.healthymanmethod.com. I'm on Instagram on New Wellness Men's Guide. Also, the Brotherhood of Kings, which is on Instagram as well, and the Brotherhood of Kings.com. That's a men's circle. So if you're a man of color, if you want to have a space, a community like Ashanti have talked about several times throughout the video, where you can really express yourself, we go into topics that few men of color are really talking about that have impact on us, right? Like embarrassment, like where's our powerlessness, even things like how do we promote what we're doing, how do we plan, how do we get resources, all these different things that's available. And also I'm on, if you want to contact me, you can contact me through Instagram, contact me through Facebook, Paul Randolph Newell, also at Paul at healthymanmethod.com. So I'm excited. If you got, you listen, I always tell, when I do these interviews, I tell men, if you have no place to go or you don't know where to go, reach out. Reach out to me, man. Like, I'll make the time, man. We'll get on the phone. Like, you chop it up. I got 2 really good ears. I've been practicing active listening for a long time. So I'm here for you, man. And I just want men to know, like, listen, if you're experiencing something, you're listening to this and experiencing those feelings of like, you don't want to be here, I'm begging and asking you to give it another go. Stay in the game with this, man. Please stay in the game, man. Stay in the game. And I'm in and out.
Without a doubt. And thank you, brother, for being here with me. Thank you for this conversation. I felt it was fruitful for me, and I definitely got some nuggets that I'm taking away. And I got 2 new words on my mask that I will begin incorporating into these conversations. And so I appreciate you. Happy New Year to you. May this year I'm not asking you to make no commitments on this call, but the next time we talk, I'm going to ask you about a commitment about the recordings you've made that have not been used. So just be prepared that when you get a text from me, I'm going to be like, what's the last recording that you didn't share with
where's
the
it
world?
at? Look, I'll put the commitment out there right there. I'm good. I'm going to do 10 like you. I still got time, bro. I got half a month, man. I'm going to do 10 like you, bro. Let's go. I'm ready, man. You set the stage, baby.
All right.
We're in it together, bro.
Let's go. It's in.
My
It's
man.
in.
Appreciate
Folks,
you,
if Paul and I shared our masks here publicly, you can do yours anonymously at millionmask.org. All the things he shared, we're going to have in the show notes. So please reach out, follow up, and take care of you. Take care of those who take care of you, and know that you're not alone. And there's more to you than anybody can see by looking at you. Thank you, Brother Paul. So good to see you.
Let's have you too, bro. Peace.
Cheers to you. The Taking Off the Mask podcast is produced by Ryan Louie. Graphics are by Kelly Wong. And a special thanks to the team at Ever Forward, Vanessa Cortez and Choque Allen Alvarez. We'd like to thank everyone who's been a part of the creation of this podcast as we cross the 100th episode milestone and begin the work to the next 100. We hope that everyone who's been a part knows that they're a part of the Taking Off the Mask family. And we look forward to you being a part of it as well. If you like what you heard today, please subscribe, write a 5-star review, and share, as we look forward to continuing to have conversations that matter. Stay tuned for the relaunch of the Million Mask Movement on 11/11/22. That's November 11th of 2022. There's a math problem in there. You can find out more by visiting everforwardclub.org and following us on social media. Take care, and we'll see you soon.